إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال تعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون أما بعد قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من مس الحصى فقد لغى. A humble reminder, please put aside any distractions, phones, texting, whispering to your friends. Put that all aside for the next 15 to 20 minutes inshallah, such that you may obtain the full reward of the Jum'ah. عن جابر رضي الله عنه قال سمعت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول إن الشيطان قد أيس أن يعبده المصلون في جزيرة العرب ولكن في التحريش بينهم. In this short khutbah, I would like to share with you just one piece of advice. And my humble request is you take this advice and you bring it home and you tell it to your families and to your friends and to everyone you know in this community. Because if everyone were to act upon this advice, then we would overcome all our problems in this community. We would overcome all the problems globally even. Islam would spread in this land. We would not have corruption in the lands of Islam. And we would even free Palestine. Prophet ﷺ, he's telling us in this hadith, Shaitan has given up all hope of being worshipped by those who pray in the Arabian Peninsula. And when he says in the Arabian Peninsula, he means the Muslim Ummah, because back in the day, the only Muslims existed in the Arabian Peninsula. Shaitan has lost hope of being worshipped by the Ummah. Shaitan will no longer try to whisper to you to try to get you to prostrate to an idol, to try to get you to worship a stone. And in fact, if you see the general trend throughout history, Islam, compared to the other religions, there has never been a religion like Islam, which has spread across the land so quickly and remained firm in the hearts of its believers. Wherever Islam spread, Islam remained. So Shaitan is not going to do waswasa about worshipping idols, even though that was the main mission of Shaitan. So his main mission failed. So what happens now that his main mission has failed? What happens now that he has failed to make the believers prostrate to a piece of rock? وَلَكِنْ فِي التَّحْرِيشِ بَيْنَهُمْ. Shaitan has moved on to plan B, and that is to incite division amongst the ummah, to divide the Muslims. This is the next biggest thing out of all the things that Shaitan could have think of. This was the next biggest thing on his agenda. And when the ummah becomes disunited, the ummah becomes weak. When the ummah becomes weak, we end up in situations very similar to what we are living through today. And it's painful to admit, but look around you. Look at the world around you. The enemies of Islam, they are plotting and planning. The enemies of Islam are coming up with agendas and plans and moving and exerting their influence locally and globally, to the point where we have today over 2 billion Muslims around the world, yet we cannot stand up to a small army of 300,000 that is publicly committing genocide. And this is no longer recent news. Just a reminder, October 7, 2024, that's in a little over 2 weeks. Just keep that in your mind. Just something for you to think about. Even as we look at the local state of our ummah, again, around us here in this city, we find the enemies of Islam plotting and planning, pushing immoral agendas, advocating for abnormal and weird trends, brainwashing. We are all witnesses of this. Brainwashing the newer generation in public schools with all their teachings. Where are the Muslims in all of this? Oh, the Muslims are too busy. Too busy with what? Too busy bickering. Too busy fighting. Too busy disagreeing with one another, creating invisible barriers that only result in the division of the ummah. I am from this organization, you are from this organization. I am the one in charge. No, I am the one in charge. I am a Shafi'i, he's a Hanafi. I'm not going to pray behind him. The enemies of Islam are playing with us, literally, like pieces of chess on a board. And we Muslims are still fighting with one another. Should you say Bismillah out loud in the Salah or not? And by the way, please do not misunderstand what I'm saying. These are issues that do need to be discussed. And we acknowledge the concept of difference of opinions and difference of schools of thought. However, we never, ever use these difference of opinions as a means to divide the ummah. There is a time and a place to resolve all these problems. But now of all times, this is not the time. This is not the time to be fighting internally. This is not the time to be dividing and disuniting and bickering. This is from shaitan. This is the whole message of the hadith. We have to understand, shaitan is an active enemy. There are over a dozen red flags and warnings from Allah Azza wa Jal all across the Quran. Inna shaytana lakum aduwwun mubin. Inna shaytana lakum adu fattakhidhuhu aduwwa. Shaitan is always assessing, watching, planning. When we speak about shaitan, you have to think of a military leader. You have to honestly deal with shaitan like he is a genius, excellent military tactician. He just looks at the enemy. He looks at the troops. He looks at the tactics, looks at what is happening, re-evaluates the next strategy. Shaitan tried to get the early Muslims to revert to idol worshipping, but that failed. So what did he do next? He decided, look, you know what? If I can't have them worshipping idols, I'm going to have them fighting with one another. Every person is going to have a problem with the person who's next to him. Every society is going to have problems inside it. Every community is going to have people bickering and fighting for silly reasons. This is the warning of Prophet ﷺ to us. And this is the whole message of today's khutbah. Do not let shaitan succeed in his plan. Do not be a reason for the success of shaitan. How does shaitan go about this? What are the tactics that shaitan uses? First and foremost, and this is amongst the most evil and worst and most disgusting tactics, to cause divisions between people because of imaginary barriers, differences of skin color, differences in nationality, differences in tribalism, in ethnicity. These are man-made differences. None of these differences mean anything in the eyes of Allah Azza wa Jal. Who cares where you were born? Who cares where you're from? Who cares where your parents are from? Who cares which nationality you are? Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. But shaitan, you see, he comes in the middle. And he causes us to raise our children with the mindset of be careful of this group, don't go close to them. Be careful of that ethnicity, they always do such and such actions. Be careful of this group. Be careful of that person. We are this group. They are that group. We are this nation. They are that nation. And shaitan implants an element of superiority and arrogance in us thinking these kinds of thoughts. And by the way, just to clear up again any misunderstanding, there's nothing wrong with being proud of your heritage, of being proud of your culture. However, the problem becomes a problem once this pride in your heritage or culture makes you feel superior to other groups that are around you. And as a result, you start to kind of stereotype or categorize a whole group of people into like a subset or a description. That, all Pakistanis are like this. All Egyptians are like that. All the people of a certain skin color, they do such and such actions. SubhanAllah. Have we forgotten what Prophet ﷺ says about these kind of categorizations? When the Sahaba bickered amongst one another for these same exact differences, he told them, دَعُوهَا فَإِنَّهَا مُنْتِنَةٌ. Leave it. It is rotten. It is filthy. Leave this idea of my tribe or my nation or my culture is better than that other person. Arab is not better than Pakistani. Pakistani is not better than Indian. White is not better than black. And the list goes on. This is merely a tactic of shaitan. This is فِي التَّحْرِيشِ بَيْنَهُمْ. And shaitan doesn't stop there. Beyond the global level and beyond the community level, he will also go down to the individual level. And he will cause a brother to stop speaking to his own blood brother. To cousin to start fighting with his cousin. For friends and families to develop doubts and suspicions amongst each other. And I want you to think about this actually. If you, in your life, at one point you had a bond of friendship and a bond of family, and you no longer have that bond today, realize shaitan has defeated you. Shaitan was successful in his plan when he came and attacked you. Realize that amongst the most vicious tactics of shaitan is one that also plagues our communities. Ghiba and namima. When someone comes up to you and he starts telling you, oh, did you hear so and so what he said about you? And as a result of what you have heard, you decide to stop talking to that person, or you decide to cut off that person, to create divisions between that person. All of a sudden, this friendship that you once had, it became broken. This is shaitan. And the biggest proof to everything that I'm saying is none other than the story of Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam, which we all know, recorded beautifully in Surah Yusuf in the Quran. And we know that towards the end of the story, the beautiful ending of the story, Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam, he himself, after he reunited once again with his parents and with his brothers and his family, he says, وَقَدْ أَحْسَنَ بِي إِذْ أَخْرَجَنِي مِنَ السِّجْنِ وَجَاءَ بِكُم مِّن بَدْوٍ. And listen to this. مِن بَعْدِ أَن نَزَغَ الشَّيْطَانُ بَيْنِي وَبَيْنَ إِخْوَتِي. That he has reunited me. That all praises to Allah. He reunited me with my parents and my family after shaitan divided us. Now, we all know when we read the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, that it was the brothers. They were the ones who acted. They were the ones who got jealous. They were the ones who plotted and planned, and they took him and they threw him in the well. Yet, Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam, and Allah Azza wa Jalla is telling us this, he's not blaming his brothers. He's not blaming his parents. He's not blaming anybody except for shaitan. He is saying shaitan was the one who did all of this. Shaitan is the mastermind behind all of this. Shaitan was the one who caused these brothers to develop the hatred, to develop the jealousy. So, I don't mean to take much time. The last point, which I'll mention, another form of فِي التَّحْرِيشِ بَيْنَهُمْ, and perhaps this is the most evil of all the types, is that between a husband and a wife. In the authentic hadith, Sahih Muslim, إن إبليس يضع عرشه على الماء ثم يبعث سراياه فأدناهم منه منزلة أعظمهم فتنة يجيء أحدهم فيقول فعلت كذا وكذا فيقول ما صنعت شيئا. So the hadith is telling us that Iblis, he has his throne, and every day the shayateen, they all congregate at him, and he starts to ask them, what did you do today? And one shaitan stands up, he would say, I did this, this and that. And Iblis would be like, he would trivialize it. He didn't do anything. حتى يجيء أحدهم فيقول ما تركته حتى فرقت بينه وبين امرأته. Until amongst all of these shayateen, one of them stands up and he says, I did not leave this human, I did not leave him alone until I caused him and his wife, or a husband and a wife, to split up. I continued whispering to them. I continued making a small thing into a big problem. I continued to pester them until I finally caused them to split up. At this, فَيُدْنِيهِ مِنْهُ وَيَقُولُ نِعْمَ أَنْتِ. At this, Iblis stands up and he embraces that shaitan and he tells him, you have accomplished something today. This is the essence of at-tahrish. This is the essence, inciting hatred, breaking the bonds of marriage, even though it's such a thick bond, ميثاقا غليظا. But such a thick bond to be broken because, wallah, my wife put too much salt on the food. Or my wife keeps talking on the phone and bothering me, or this and that. Over a silly argument, over minor disagreements. These are all tactics, and all of them are areas that we have to be careful about. At the global level, at the community level, and also at the individual level, with friends and with families and relatives, and also at the spousal level. Realize shaitan is continuously attacking all of these bonds. Shaitan has given up getting us trying to worship idols and pieces of stones, but he has not given up in breaking the ties of kinship, in dividing between brothers, dividing between husband and wife. So let us be careful, inshallah, not to fall prey into these tactics of shaitan. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. With everything that I've just mentioned, what are some ways that I can at least protect myself from these tactics of shaitan? How can I counter them? We have many points to be mentioned, but I'll only mention 2 or 3, inshallah, just for the sake of time. And they're all from the Quran. Allah Azza wa Jal says, وَقُلْ لِعِبَادِي يَقُولُ الَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ إِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ يَنْزَغُ بَيْنَهُمْ. Allah Azza wa Jal is telling us, tell my servants to speak always that which is good. Why? Because shaitan causes hatred between them. Meaning via the speech, the tongue, the ear, speech. If only people understood the dangers of our tongues. وَهَلْ يُكَبُّ النَّاسُ عَلَى وُجُوهِهِمْ فِي النَّارِ إِلَّا حَصَائِدُ أَلْسِنَتِهِمْ. And the ears as well, because of what the ears hear from the tongue. I need to be as careful and as vigilant as possible with what I say, and ignore as much as possible from what I hear. If I do this, then at least I can protect myself from the tongue, and I can protect myself from what I hear as well. As soon as someone comes up to you and he starts to tell you, so and so said this about you, just shut your ears. Just ignore it. Let it go. And similarly, I also need to be careful about what I say about others, because I need to remember I will be taken into account in front of Allah Azza wa Jal for every word that I utter. And at that point, I can't tell Allah, oh Allah, I'm sorry, I was angry at that point. I'm sorry, oh Allah, I was swept up in the mood. That doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. You are expected to be vigilant with that which you say. And when I slip, Shaitan will do that which he is good at. He will utilize this opportunity and he will take my small slip and he will make something much bigger. Number 2, make a dua to Allah Azza wa Jal to protect you from Shaitan and especially to grant you a qalb salim, a tranquil heart, a heart that doesn't harbor animosity, a heart that doesn't have any hatred. And I want you to think for a second, if you were to walk out the masjid after this Jum'ah prayer is done, after you walk out the doors, you will come face to face with the angel of death. Ask yourself, is your condition of the heart right now sufficient for you to meet your Lord? Is this the heart that you want to meet your Lord with? Will I meet Allah with a heart that is full of peace and happiness? Or is my heart filled with jealousy? Is my heart filled with anger? Is my heart a corrupt and a sick heart that is only satisfied when it tries to find faults in other people and to put other people down? My dear brothers and sisters, the day of judgment, it is a very dark day. It is a very gloomy day. يَوْمًا عَبُوسًا قَمْطَرِيرًا. It is a very long and a very tedious day. And nothing shall benefit us on that day. Not your money, not your families. يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. The only exception is the person who meets his Lord with a qalbin salim, a tranquil heart. So always make a dua to Allah Azza wa Jal. Ask Allah to fix your heart. None of us are perfect, but we try our best. Ask Allah to purify your heart, to give us a heart that is always satisfied. That a heart that is not satisfied only when it starts to put other people down. Because Shaitan will not be able to get a hold of a person whose heart is a pure heart and doesn't harbor any animosity with other people. And the last point which I will mention, look, it's natural people disagree with one another. People fight with one another. It's in the nature of humans. When something bad comes your way, when someone mistreats you, when someone does something against you, what I'm about to tell you is easy to listen to, but it's hard to apply. But Allah Azza wa Jal teaches us in the Quran, idfa' billati hiya ahsan. فَإِذَا الَّذِي بَيْنَكَ وَبَيْنَهُ عَدَاوَةٌ كَأَنَّهُ وَلِيٌّ حَمِيمٌ. That you be the better of the two for the sake of Allah. Repel evil with good. And as a result, Allah Azza wa Jal is telling us, you will find the one who was an enemy to you shall become your closest ally and your closest friend. Just stand up and just forgive for the sake of Allah. If someone gives you a negative comment, return it with a positive comment. If someone does something bad to you, return that back with a gift. If someone puts you down, respond by speaking well about them behind their back. Not to feed your ego. You're not doing it for the sake of that other person. You are doing it purely for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. In that case, not only are you the better person, not only do you have a bigger reward with Allah Azza wa Jal, but now you have also gained the friendship of this person who was your enemy. So we ask Allah to use us all as a means of uniting the ummah. And we ask Allah to protect us against the division and against the tactics of shaitan. And we ask Allah to make us among those who have a qalbin salim, and to make us among those who have a pure tongue, and amongst the people who have nothing but good thoughts to other people. اللهم ندعا فأمنوا اللهم لا تدع لنا في مقامنا هذا ذنبا إلا غفرته ولا هما إلا فرجته ولا كربا إلا نفسته ولا دينا إلا قضيته ولا مريضا إلا شفيته ولا حاجة لنا من حوائج الدنيا والآخرة إلا أعنتنا على قضائها ويسرتها برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم انصر إخواننا المستضعفين في غزة، اللهم انصرهم على اليهود الغاصبين، اللهم أفرغ عليهم صبرا وثبت أقدامهم وانصرهم على القوم الكافرين. اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات. عباد الله، اتقوا الله واعلموا أن الله أمركم بأمر بدأ فيه بنفسه، فقال عز من قائل: إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي، يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. وأقم الصلاة.